offer them year-round growing. We enable them to grow a wide range of crops. We do that by giving them complete control over the weather, so the sun, the wind and the rain and the hours of sunshine in the day, and that enables them to economically and environmentally sustainably grow whatever crops they can sell profitably based upon where they are in the world.
Welcome to The Switch. I'm Elena Casas. The food we eat is responsible for about a third of climate warming emissions, and one of the technological innovations aiming to reduce that is vertical farming. The idea is that a controlled indoor growing environment cuts out transport emissions from long supply chains, reduces waste and water use, and can run entirely on renewable electricity. But the jump in energy prices in recent years has sent a number of vertical farming companies out of business. So is the model both ecologically and financially sustainable? Well, I'm joined now by Andrew Lloyd, CEO of Intelligent Growth Solutions, which makes growth towers for farmers using this technology. Andrew, hi. So how exactly does your technology work?
Within the towers is a combination of technologies, but fundamentally the technology is there to deliver the weather, and the weather you're paying for on the inside rather than whatever the weather is on the outside. So controlling the weather is something that farmers have never been able to do. We can give them that control, and if you deliver perfect weather, you'll get as close to a perfect crop every time as possible.
You're working on a large-scale project that's under construction in Dubai, where of course there is abundant solar energy, but very little farmland. Tell me more about that.
Yes, in Dubai we call it a Giga farm. It's called a Giga farm because it's capable of growing 1 billion plants a year. It actually takes 200 of our towers, our 12-metre high towers. That Giga farm roughly produces 5,000 tonnes of food a year. The 5,000 tonnes of food is predominantly used to replace food that's otherwise imported. And in the case of the UAE, where they import arguably over 99% of produce, most of that fresh produce is flown in cargo jets. And the carbon footprint of that is quite horrific. So just replacing 1% of the UAE's food imports will save over 100,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide equivalent a year.
How much of the UAE's food imports are you ultimately aiming to replace in this way?
So the goal of the Emirates is to get to 10%. So for us, that would be 10 of these Giga farms across the Emirates.
You mentioned that these growth towers allow farmers to create the ideal climate. They also allow them to slow down and even stop the growth of plants to try and prevent waste. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, that's really a fascinating area for us. One of the discoveries that we have made through our own crop science work is that if you vary the number of hours of sunshine in the day, then give a plant more sunshine up to the point it will grow faster. Give it less sunshine, it will grow slower. Typically we grow our crops for 18 hours a day, so they'll grow a little bit faster. But you can slow them down or speed them up. So rather than just using the technology to maximize production and possibly creating waste, the promise of this is that you can vary the length of time that it grows and consequently just deliver enough to meet actual confirmed demand. Where I live in Scotland, very often the barbecue weekends get cancelled because it rains a lot. But what if my local supermarket was able to cancel or modify its order based upon the actual weather forecast rather than the one they imagined it might be 4 weeks out?
Would it perhaps increase food prices, though, for the customer at the end in the UK compared to the imports that we currently have?
No, the goal absolutely needs to be that it's price comparable with traditional sources. If this is going to work at scale, it needs to be priced the same as the other scale products.
And what makes you confident that's possible?
The yields that you can get out of our technology, and provided you do have control over the price of that kilowatt hour, that's the key to this. Roughly 3/4 of the price of running a vertical farm is the price you pay for your electricity. If the price doubles, it greatly reduces the number of crops that can economically be grown. Conversely, if the price halves, it opens the window for growing all sorts of other plants.
Could future spikes in the price of power, as we've seen in the last couple of years, put this model at risk?
That's what has undermined this market over the course of the last 2 years. So what the market has learnt is it needs to mitigate for that now. Farmers, when they're making an investment in this type of infrastructure technology, are typically looking for a payback on that investment over 5 to 10 years, which means they need 5 to 10 years worth of visibility over their electricity prices. Otherwise, why would you make that investment today?
How urgent is it, Andrew, that we rethink the way we produce our food?
So the urgency is in part driven by predicted population growth. Even feeding 8 billion people is proving to be extremely challenging today. There are an awful lot of hungry people around the world. And if we are going to change the way in which food is grown so that it is more available to the masses, and in getting it available to the masses, it's done in a more carbon sensitive way, then it will contribute to our commitments to climate change or carbon reductions.
Andrew Lloyd, CEO of Intelligent Growth Solutions, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, it's been my pleasure.